Aloha, everybody. Good morning. Good. Welcome to our second event of the HiSTEP 2020 season. Our first event was 2 weeks ago, Export University 101. And we're just getting ready to upload the videos of that. I wanted to point out real quickly, on this website, you can find an archive of all of our past HiSTEP events. It's on the YouTube channel of the Hawaii Pacific Export Council. And DBEDT also has an archive at their website as well. So you can go back and look at previous scaling up meetings that we had over the past few years and compare it to this one today, which I think is going to be a bit more interactive. So my name is Rob Hack. I'll be your MC this morning, although Wayne is going to be doing most of the talking today. I'm from the Hawaii Pacific Export Council. We are a local nonprofit here in Honolulu based at the Foreign Trade Zone, and it is our mission to educate and teach small companies in Hawaii about exporting topics. We have a grant from DBEDT that allows us to put on these seminars. DBEDT gets their grant from SBA, so we'd like to thank both of those organizations tremendously for their support, as well as the Foreign Trade Zone, because they allow us to have these seminars here. I'll give you my standard disclaimer is that we have 3 audiences going on right now. You, the live audience. We have an online audience because this is going out by webinar to the neighbor islands, and then we record these videos for our YouTube channel later. My disclaimer is that we welcome all kinds of questions and interaction, but note that if you do ask a question, it's possible that your face or your voice may wind up on video and you may wind up on our YouTube channel later. Okay? With that, I'd like to bring up Jamie Lum from DBEDT. She's the coordinator of this program and largely responsible for the entire program that we put on every year. So thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Rob. Aloha, good morning, everyone. As Rob said, I'm Jamie Lum. I'm with the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, otherwise known as DBEDT. And my colleague, Mark Ritchie, is also here. We're both involved in the Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, or HiSTEP, of which this seminar is a part of. And we don't do it alone. We partner with organizations like HPEC, like Innovate Hawaii under HTDC, like the SBDC, and Dennis is here, Small Business Development Center, with the FTZ that allows us to use this facility. We work with the Mink Center and several other partners, so we thank all of our partners for being a part of this. As Rob also mentioned, so we get our funding from the Small Business Administration. It is a competitive grant that each of the states applies for every year. And the whole purpose of it is to help Hawaii companies to increase exports. If they're new to export, we want them to look at that as an option of a way to expand their business. If they are already exporting, we want them to look at ways to go into different markets, or maybe to take different products into a market that they might already be in. So in order to do that, we have several components of the program. We have our export readiness part of it, which is these seminars. And then again, our partners help companies by offering business advising and mentoring. And so that will help companies look at their export plans, develop one if they don't have one, perhaps tweak one that they might have, and look at certain issues that they might be having as a company in terms of what it will take for them to be successful in exporting. So that's our export readiness component. We have another component, which are the Hawaii pavilions that we do. We do a couple of them each year. We select various trade shows, and then we buy the space and we recruit companies to be part of the Hawaii Pavilion. So we subsidize the majority of the cost to be in the show. Companies do need to pay for their own airfare and hotel and things like that, but it's a way for us to go in under the Hawaii brand, number one, and it does help alleviate some of the costs for companies that otherwise would have to pay the full amount to go in on their own into a trade show. So we have that component. And the final component is our company assistance. We actually, the deadline for that passed, and we're in the process of selecting those companies. So, but with that, companies can request up to $7,500 to help them implement certain portions of their export plan, be it going to trade shows that may be others outside of the ones that we might already be doing with Hawaii Pavilions, maybe doing a gold key service in a market that they're looking at going into, and a number of other types of expenses, but that's our company assistance. So those are the three components of the program. Rob has our website up here, which is Invest.Hawaii.Gov, and if you go under the exporting and go to HiSTEP, that will give you all of the information. What we want you to do is to fill out a registration form. That's no obligation, no cost or anything like that, but basically you give us some information about your company, and then what we do is we actually refer you to one of our partner organizations for like an initial consultation to see, find out more about your company, where you're at with exporting, see if there are any particular issues, and then they can start working with you. So that's where you would start in terms of getting involved with HiSTEP. But I'll be around to the end of the program if anyone has any questions, but feel free to contact me. And again, we encourage you to sign up for HiSTEP. And also, if I can just point out, we have this subscribe to our email list. So many of you probably are here because you got emails from us, but if you're not signed up, please do sign up, and you can receive all of the announcements that we get about HiSTEP and other things that we're doing. So thank you very much, and thank you for being here. Aloha.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, our main program today is Scaling Up Operations. This is an interesting program. I'm not an expert in it by any stretch, so I'll let the experts talk about it. But we do this program every year, and it's very well received by the audience and by the speakers who come, seem to enjoy talking about their scaling up operations and the problems that they've had in the past and how they were able to overcome that through help from Innovate Hawaii. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wayne Lagan from Innovate Hawaii and HTDC, and can you explain the relationship there?
Yeah.
And they just recently moved over to the foreign trade zone. And I'll bring up your website in just a second.
Good morning, everyone. So like Rob was mentioning, we've done this a couple of times already with as part of the HiSTEP program. This year, we're going to try something a little bit different. We still have speakers that are coming a little bit later that'll talk about their export and scaling up challenges and experiences. But for this session, we're going to do some interactive exercises that pull a lot from what's called lean manufacturing. So in our slides, you'll see we titled it Lean Process Improvements for Scaling Up Your Operations, okay? And as Rob mentioned, we are here at the Foreign Trade Zone. We're in Suite 255. If you guys have any questions or would like to schedule a meeting, let us know. Once we get going with the slides, I'll introduce myself, and we also have a bunch of our team members here in the front that if you had any other questions, you can also approach them.
Should I start the presentation?
Yep, please. All right. So I was making sure everyone's here in the right place. So lean process improvement for scaling up your operations. Next slide, Rob. So as far as agenda, again, we'll go through the slides, go through the exercises, and we'll take a little break as our speakers come in. So we'll give them a chance to settle in, and then we'll restart with sort of the panel discussion that we've done in the past. Okay? So maybe back up one, Rob. Thank you. So this is my contact info. I have business cards available also, but if you have any questions, you can email me. This number is for our general line for Innovate Hawaii. So that way, when you call, if I'm not at the desk, at least you'll get someone else from our team to pick up the phone. Okay, next slide. So as Rob mentioned, Innovate Hawaii is part of HTDC. HTDC is the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. So Innovate Hawaii is a program of HTDC. We're also part of a federal program called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So the MEP National Network is a public-private partnership that pretty much works with manufacturers. We provide solutions to manufacturing challenges. And for us specifically, some of the ways we do this is through training programs and manufacturing assistance. So this would be technical assistance. We have also the manufacturing assistance program. Unfortunately, I didn't put in any slides for that because we did close out the applications already. But if you have any questions about possibly getting a manufacturing grant, talk to one of us. We can tell you what it's all about. And again, our goal for Innovate Hawaii and as part of the MEP National Network is to advance manufacturing in Hawaii. And our 3 words we like to live by: create, build, grow. Again, all of our work is aimed at helping Hawaii companies create new products, create jobs, or pretty much create opportunities, as well as help to build awareness around the manufacturing industry. And then lastly, most importantly, is to help businesses grow.
MEP is under SBA?
MEP is under the Department of Commerce, NIST specifically, the National
That's
Institute of Standards. Okay, so first question, what does lean mean to you? So I guess maybe you should go introductions all around first, just so I have a frame of mind on who's here. That way I can sort of tailor my responses based on who's in the audience. Maybe you can go around the room and introduce yourselves. Let's start with our staff here first. So maybe Sophia.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm with Innovate Hawaii. Hi, I'm Erin, also with Innovate Hawaii.
Hi, good morning. I'm Wayne Inoue from ECDC Innovate Hawaii. I'm the Center Director representing the corporate agreement from, again, like Rob said, we are a federal program through the Department of Commerce to help local manufacturers here. So just, first of all, thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
So maybe just your name, maybe your company, and maybe 1 or 2 sentences about what you do. So that way, if there is some kind of manufacturing or something specific that applies to you, I can point it out.
Hi, my name is Emily Roman. I work at the Hawaii State Library. First, I want to provide you what resources available in the community. And after I retire, I want to do some business. So, thank you.
I'll pass around the mic.
Hi, my name is Chris. My company is called Kashido, and I do a lot of import and export between Asia and America. So some of the products that I offer include ozone systems for sanitizing your food, and also those suction cup hooks. Yeah.
Aloha, I'm Christine Sabato, and our family is the Sabato family, and my husband is Maui Artist of the Year. And we have taken his artwork and made it into many different products, i.e. carpets, aloha shirts, cups, clothing. We have a store in Wailea now, and we're interested specifically in exporting our carpets. We have a large amount coming, so we're very excited to be here.
Oh, hi, good morning. I'm John Flanagan from the Bank of Hawaii, and I work in the commercial banking area.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonah. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii, and I work in the membership department.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis Wong. I'm with the Small Business Development Center. I'm a senior business advisor.
I'm Darren. I'm a beekeeper, and I'm working on curing rapid ohia death.
My name is Vincent. I'm with NewNectar.com. We help vendors with e-commerce, online marketing, sales overseas.
Thank you. And I'm Mark Ritchie with DBED.
And you already know me.
All right.
Can I add, there's a couple people, several people online. Maddie Mae Larson from Upcycle Hawaii and Wendy Acosta from Maui Sweet and Spicy. They're a specialty food manufacturer using spiced powdered cacao. I'd like to backtrack just one quick second to a previous slide. And for the people that are online, is there Innovate Hawaii on the neighbor islands?
So we are a statewide program. Fortunately, most all of us are based on Oahu, but we do make it to the outer islands periodically.
Okay. Good.
Oh yeah, and as part of HCDC, we do have a neighbor island initiative. So we have HCDC representatives on Kauai and the Big Island.
But anybody that's online, they could just call this number here and find.
Correct.
you.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay. So again, so because we are manufacturing focused, I mean, I'll apologize in advance if a lot of this stuff deals with manufacturing, but we'll talk about lean process improvement, which applies to any process in a little bit. But the reason why I asked what lean means to you, I mean, has anybody heard of lean manufacturing or lean before? Okay, a couple in the back. Hopefully they know about it. But so maybe next one click so we can go to the icons. So as far as lean, so just some examples. Caterpillar, you know, that big equipment manufacturer that makes all those construction vehicles. So they've implemented lean, which again, lean comes from the Toyota production system. And the key thing that the company recognized is that pace, which in lean terminology we call takt time, is integral to project success. So what they found with Caterpillar specifically is that if projects take too long, they usually fail. So that's why they aim to do what's called Kaizen events, which in short means projects that it's quickly implemented and it's also far-reaching, and then it also leads to greater success. Intel, a lot of the computers, Intel is probably one of the biggest chip manufacturers in the world. Just reading some of my notes here, one of their factory managers at the Intel fab, you know, they said that 5 years ago it took them 14 weeks to introduce a new chip into a factory. And then now, because of lean improvements, it takes 10 days, right? And then this is just for one of the things that they did for lean implementation. John Deere, the world's largest manufacturer of agriculture machinery. I know them for lawnmowers, but they do other stuff too. They spent millions of dollars transforming one of their plants in the US, in Iowa specifically, from mass production into lean manufacturing. And then what that did for the mindset of the company and for the people working in the plant was that, you know, they focused on identifying non-value added activities, and then by doing that they realized a lot of cost savings. Ford, Henry Ford again, I mean, he's all about, you know, reducing waste. He was one of the manufacturers, one of the pioneers that brought lean into the US. Again, this is based from Toyota, but he showed that, you know, one example that he used was water in a bucket. So before we had pipes, people used to carry water in buckets up into buildings. And then he said that, you know, rather than doing that's a lot of wasted motion. By putting in pipes, you know, you can increase efficiency and you can reduce waste. Because I don't know if you guys ever tried carrying water in a bucket up a ladder. You know, yeah, exactly. And then again, lastly is Toyota. So Toyota is, again, the Toyota production system. Lean is based a lot from what Toyota did after World War II to get back up from that. And we'll go over in the slides what a few things. We won't go everything. We do have lean manufacturing training that we do offer that's about 7 hours long, but we can do it on site or we can do public sessions where we go through everything. But just giving you some examples of companies that you might recognize that have used lean to help their companies reduce costs, increase production, and grow. Right. So first thing, right, because when we talk about lean, you know, we have to define what lean is. So lean is a set of principles and practices which reduce costs through the relentless removal of wasteful activities and the simplification and standardization of manufacturing and support processes throughout the entire enterprise. So some keywords here, right? You know, removal of wasteful activities, simplification, and standardization. And then also on the bottom throughout the entire enterprise, because In order to reap the benefits of lean, there has to be company buy-in. If it's only just one department doing it, they might optimize one section of the company. But if the rest of the company is still doing things not in a lean way, then you'll sort of there's no real improvement there. So lean, the way you can think about it, it's a catch-all phrase that we use to describe methods and tools to increase efficiency, simplify tasks, and reduce waste throughout the whole company. Lean, I think, in my opinion, should be applied from the supplier's supplier through to the customer's customer, hence the entire enterprise. We'll go a little bit into different kinds of customers. There's internal customers you can think of. Let's say you're processing, you're doing something yourself. When you hand it off to someone else, they're your customer. So internal customers as well as external customers. We'll consider that in the training that we're going to do. All right, Rob, next slide, please. So I mentioned value-added activity and non-value-added activity. So this is one thing. Probably this slide and the next slide will probably be the things that I'd like you guys to remember from today's seminar is how do we determine what is wasteful, right? So in your value stream, there's two kinds of activities. Value-added activity, the definition of that is any activity that changes the fit, form, or function. It's done right the first time and is something that your customer is willing to pay for, okay? Non-value-added activity is those activities that take time or resources but do not directly contribute to the product or service. So you start probably thinking in your head, like, what's some examples of this? For those of you that are doing some kind of manufacturing or even those of you in the office, cleaning. What do you guys think about cleaning? Is that a value-added activity or non-value-added activity? For example, if you were in the restaurant industry and you told your customers, oh, I'm sorry, but we're going to charge you extra money today because we had to clean last night. How would your customers feel? Not happening, right? So, that for that kind of stuff, you consider that non-value-added activity. But what if I say quality checks? Let's say you have quality inspections in your process. Like you said that you guys are doing carpets. If you're doing a quality check and you told your customer, sorry, we're going to charge you extra because we need to do a quality check on our products. Yeah. Customers normally wouldn't pay for that, but we understand that is part of your process. It's part of your business to maintain quality. You do quality checks. So maybe Rob, you can go to the next slide. So that's why we're going to introduce a third category. It's called non-value added but necessary. So same thing like before, right? How do you define what is value added? If you stop what you're doing and someone complains, internal or external customer, then it's probably value added because you stop doing it, they see something wrong, they complain. Non-value added, whatever you're doing that you think is non-value added, if you stop doing it and nobody notices, then it's probably non-value added. And then the last category is if you stop doing it now, yeah, your internal customer would complain, but it's necessary for the business. Okay? Next slide. So with lean, again, we focus on reducing wasteful activity. The common mistake whenever we do this kind of training and this kind of implementation within companies is, let's say this is your whole day. There are some studies that I don't have any sources for, but that if you wanted more info, that show that for a typical day for a manufacturer or even for businesses, they said about 95% of the lead time is non-value added activity. So if you were to take this whole pie here, most of this is non-value activity, only 5% is value added. What companies do a lot of times, I'll give examples, is they'll try to focus on reducing the value added or doing more valued activity by making the workers work faster. So let's say you're making a product, it takes you 10 minutes, and then your supervisor tells you work faster because we got to produce more. That's telling the worker to improve the value-added activity by working faster. So if you can click over, by doing that, you could probably get a 50% improvement, to say theoretically. The yellow would be the improvement that you would get. But if you take the lean approach and you try to improve by removing wasteful activity, this is Dr. Deming. So 90% is a problem, 6% is the people. Again, Dr. Deming was one of the people that went to Japan and brought lean back from Japan to America. He was a professor, he was a statistician, so he was real good with numbers and math. He crunched everything, and then he was the one that said that we should focus on the system instead of the people. So next slide. So it's a similar thing, right? Remember I told you guys about focusing on the waste. If you click over one more, Rob, if you were to reduce the non-value-add activity, you'd gain that much more time in your day to do more production, more value-added activity. I'm hoping that makes sense to everyone. Does everyone see where I'm going with this? Okay. And then next slide. So 8 wastes, at least in manufacturing. Again, this applies to any process, but it's real relevant in manufacturing because it's easier to see. Eliminating the 8 wastes. So there's different acronyms. The one that we like to use is called downtime. So downtime, D is for defects. So pretty much efforts caused by rework, scrap, and incorrect information. There's a saying, right? No time to do it right, but then there's always time to do it again. So that's where defects would be a waste. O is for overproduction, production that is more than needed before it's needed. When you go through the regular lean training, we dive deeper into this a lot because, especially for those that have a lot of inventory, this is one thing that causes that. Waiting is another waste. Again, waiting for the next step. How many of you guys have visited or seen on TV one of those like Toyota or Nissan or Ford factories where they build cars? So what you see when you go there is techs are in their station and the cars move along a track, and once they've done their sub-assembly, it goes on to the next station and they wait for the next one. So in essence, they're waiting, but think of in your lives. Let's say you send off an email waiting for a response. How long does that usually take? Right? That's one example. Emails are good, they're instant, they get sent right away, but then you don't get a response back right away either. So in essence, that's a waiting type of waste. N is non-utilized talents. This one deals more with teamwork and underutilizing people's talents, skills, and knowledge. So we've heard the term getting the right people on the bus. Non-utilized talent goes with getting the right people in the right seats in the bus. T is for transportation, unnecessary movements of product or materials. I is for inventory or excess products and materials not being processed. M is motion, unnecessary movements by people. Again, walking to find tools or walking to get whatever you need for the next step in your process. E is for excessive processing. So there's a story that goes along with this. Pretty much it's more work or higher quality than is required by the customer. So in one example of this is there's this manufacturer on the mainland that made tires. And I guess back in the day they had white wall tires where the side wall of the tire was white. So at this specific tire manufacturer, every tire that came off the line, they had one person wrap all the tires with shrink wrap and then stack it on pallets. So the story of this one is, there was a new manager that came on board and he asked that employee, "Why are you wrapping the tires?" The employee responds, "I'm doing it because this is how we've always done it." He said, "But why is the reason?" He said, "Oh, you should ask my manager." So that new manager asked the other manager why they were wrapping the tires. And then nobody really knew the answer because I guess they've been doing it for so long that same way that they dug deeper. So the new manager asked, "Oh, what if we ask our customers what they feel about us wrapping the tires?" So they asked their customer. The customer responds like, "Oh, by the way, we had a question about our tires. Do you guys like it wrapped like that?" He's like, customer responds, I hate it. He's like, why? He's like, well, because the reason why we hate it is because whenever we get those tires in, we have to spend time unwrapping it, and then it fills up our trash bins, right? So, and then they dug deeper, and then I guess it's because of the white wall tire. Back in the day, in order to keep the white wall from getting dirty, when they're doing transport, they wrapped it. But since all the tires now are mostly black, there's no reason to do it. So that's an example of excessive processing. I mean, you might think you might be going the extra mile, but again, it's all based on your customer. If your customer doesn't need it or doesn't require it, then you're spending the extra time that you could be using for producing more. Okay? Next slide, Rob. So a lot of the examples that I've mentioned so far were in manufacturing, but lean, again, the key thing about lean is it's about process improvement. So it applies to many different industries. You know, in engineering, for example, it can apply to product development. There is, for software development, also a lean process. For a lot of our companies that we work with, we look at not only manufacturing, but also the order taking process and scheduling. Lean applies to logistics, administrative systems, human resources. It applies to everything. Again, a process is a process is a process. Dr. Deming, he had a quote that I'll repeat here. He said, if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing, right? So examples, again, of how lean applies to, you know, everyday things that you guys might not notice. Subway sandwiches. If you've been to a Subway, they have a single piece flow, right? One sandwich at a time that goes through the line. They even have things that implement visual controls. I don't know if you guys ever noticed. I just noticed it recently. But when you buy a 6-inch sandwich, they take a foot-long bread and they have a jig right in the front that has markings on 6-inch, quarter, and thirds. So there's no guesswork, right? Hospitals, if you think of hospitals, each room is set up the same, right, with all supplies in designated locations so that the response team or whoever needs to be in that room knows where everything is. They don't have to ask, where do I find this thing that I need for this patient? Grocery stores, they implement lean through FIFO. FIFO is first in, first out, right? They replenish from the back and then customers pull from the front. Have you guys ever heard of FISH? F-I-S-H? It's sort of the opposite of FIFO. FISH, F-I-S-H, is first in, still here. So we don't want that, right? In manufacturing or in most places, you want first in, first out. Rob, next slide. So this is just a simple example that I think everyone can wrap their heads around, just to see how lean applies to different processes. So this is a value-added activity versus a non-value activity example. So everyone familiar with lumber yards, right? So in a lumber yard, their main purpose, I would say, like, their goal is to cut wood, for example. In this case, that's a value-added activity. On the right, for non-value-added activity, handling the wood, cleanup, quality checks, banding bundles, moving bundles of wood around the yard, changing blades, breaks, lunch, all that would be considered non-value-added activity. Because if you think about it, if you told your customer, oh, we're going to charge you extra because we had to take a break and lunch yesterday, that normally wouldn't be acceptable. But again, lunch and breaks are required, so it's non-value-added but necessary. But again, you know, like meetings, breakdowns, adjusting the saw, paperwork can be considered non-value activity. Waiting for the wood, for example, from one station to the next station, and waiting for a helper to return for additional wood or just assistance with moving stuff around. Now, the question though, Rob, if you can click one over, is does the operator have to do all the non-value added work? What do you guys think? Another example that I can throw up is in the operating room, right? Hopefully no one's been in that situation, but if you've seen on TV, when the surgeon goes in, the surgeon has nurses all around to help, prepping, for example, right? Or if they need a scalpel, his hands are still up, he asks for the scalpel, right? That way, or any cleaning or any cleanup, the nurses handle while the surgeon focuses on the task or the true value-added activity in that situation. Okay. So this is just what the lean building blocks. In our 7-hour class, we go over all the different building blocks. Today, we're going to go over a little bit of the bottom part, the foundation. In Hawaii, we don't have basements, so this is not the basement. This is the foundation. So 8 ways. We're gonna go over some 5S exercises. And has anyone ever heard of 5S before? No? Oh, you did? You did? Okay. Next slide, Rob. Yeah. So 5S. It's 5S. How many watch Marie Kondo? You remember that on Netflix? Where you organize and you tidy up, you thank your items for bringing you joy before you discard them. So a lot of the stuff that Marie Kondo talked about is based off of 5S. Again, this 5S again is from Japan. It's this method: sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. On the slide there, I have the Japanese, what it's called in Japanese, but we have a librarian in the audience. How many of you guys remember going to the library and you needed to go find the book? Right? There's a reason why that catalog or the librarians can find what they need is because everything is sorted, set in order, it's clean, it's standardized, and they sustain it. Right? So it's pretty good because I had that in my notes. How many remember going to the library to find a book, and we have a librarian here. Okay. So again, 5S is a method that describes how to organize a workspace for efficiency and effectiveness by identifying and storing items used, maintaining the area and items, sustaining the new order. So one of the goals is visual controls. This also, other people know it as visual workplace or a visual factory. So again, sort, keep only the necessary items in the workplace. By doing this, you'll reduce, time looking for something, reduce the chance of distraction by unnecessary items. We'll simplify inspection, right? You can just walk by real quick and you can tell at a glance if something is out of order. You can increase the amount of available useful space. If you think of your office desk, if everything's nice and tidy, you'll have more desk space as opposed to everything's spread out all over. You can increase safety by eliminating obstacles. This is especially important in a factory setting, especially with cords or trip hazards. Set in order is, arrange items to promote efficient workflow. The goal here is to make things smooth and easy. And one of the ways that we do this in Lean is called point of use, meaning that it's easy to reach and it's in the logical order that you need to perform your task. Shine, again, is just all about cleaning, keeping the workplace safe and easy to work in. It's also pleasing, right? If you walk into a clean workspace, it's like when you go home, right? If your house is a mess, you feel stressed out. If you go back home and your house is nice and tidy, you feel more at ease, calming a little bit. Standardize is all about setting standards for a consistently organized workplace. So implementing the first 3: set, sort, set in order, and shine. And sustain is about maintaining and reviewing the standards. So there's also 6S. I think people have been talking about 6S recently, where they added in another S for safety. We won't go into that, but in maybe the next slide, Rob, if you can click over. Just some examples, right? Before and after 5S. Desk on the left, desk on the right. If you needed to find something, I think it'll be easier to find something when it's nice and tidy. Next slide, Rob. And then, again, simple examples that you can implement at home or in the office, right? You have a drawer full of junk, and then you can organize it using bins. Again, going back to Marie Kondo, right? That was her philosophy. Okay, Rob, next one. And then for those in the manufacturing setting, you have a tool drawer or a tool bucket. Say, find me a hammer. It'll take you some time to do it. Whereas if you go to the next one, if it's nice and neat, what's called shadow boarding, you can find things a lot easier. Okay? So just just so we can sink some of these principles in, we're going to do an exercise. So I'll have, I think Aaron and Sophia already handed out, or no, we can hand out the 5S numbers. Yeah. Oh, we can do the first one for now. So in this task, real simple, right? So we're a 5S numbers company. So this sheet that they're passing out represents our current workplace. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna time everyone, so everyone's shift will be 20 seconds for this example, okay? Now our task is to strike out the numbers from 1 through 49 in order. So for example, when you go through the sheet, you find number 1, you just draw a line through it. You find number 2, you draw a line through it. You number 3, draw a line through it, and so on. So I'm gonna time everybody 20 seconds, okay? Because that's all we're getting paid for, 20 seconds. Everyone get their sheets? Okay, ready, set, go. So 20 seconds from 1 to 49. 10 seconds left. So this is an example of, let's say your workplace is in disarray, nothing's in order, right? Okay, time up. Okay, let's take score. How many made it to 49? Okay. What was the highest number you guys got? 1, 2, 3, 4? 3, 4? Anybody got 4? 14. 14. Anybody else higher than 14? Okay, so that's our score. So how do you guys feel? Frustrated. Why? Why are we frustrated?
Oh, just because it was, just trying to focus my eyes on the smaller numbers.
Yep, okay.
And to move quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in this situation, so whenever we do an exercise, I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions. So what worked? I mean, I asked for thoughts already. What do you guys thought? What worked in this situation?
Looking for the smaller numbers.
Okay, so what didn't work? And or a better question, what recommendations do you guys have for improvement in this workplace? So think of, okay, so let's start off with 5S, right? So 5S, the first S was sort, right? So maybe Rob, next slide. So we handle the second one. So in this new workplace, we've sorted everything, right? We removed everything that wasn't necessary to complete the task, okay? So pretty much removed numbers 50 to 90. I don't know if you guys knew that there was 90 numbers on that sheet. So same thing, right? All shifts are 20 seconds. And then the same task, strike out 1 through 49 in order. Everyone got their sheet? Are we getting their sheet? Okay. Everyone ready? Ready? Oh, not yet, okay. Oh, that's good, you guys got extra time. Ready, set, go. 20 seconds. So again, something simple that we did, right? We just sorted out our workspace. We removed items that were not necessary to complete our task. That's what the first S is. 5 seconds. The goal is to get higher than 14 this time. Okay, time up. So 20, anybody got 20? 14, 15? 17, 15, 17, okay, getting better, getting better. So again, thoughts. What do you guys think of this? Easier, okay. So less distractions, the sorting worked. What could be the next thing that we could do for improvement? That's for later. That's for later. So we can handle the third one. So remember, the first S was sort. The second S is set in order, right? So Rob, maybe you can go to the next slide. So in this one here, we installed some racking onto our workplace. So we have columns and rows now. And then we put in an order. So if you look at this sheet here, bottom to top, left to right. So in this example, like as you proceed through the numbers, 1 is in this bottom corner here, 2 is in this corner here, 3 is in that corner there. 4, where you head left, and so on. Okay? So again, 20 seconds. Ready, set, go. So 2 things that we did so far, we sorted and we set in order. 10 seconds left. Okay, time up. So higher than 17 this time? 33. Wow. How about everybody else? Getting better? Okay, so again, thoughts? What was easier about this one? We know where to look. It's more organized. So what can we do next to improve? So we installed the racks, remember? So these lines are racks in our warehouse, for example. Okay, we can handle the next one. In the next one, hoping everyone will be okay. So in this one here, we skip shine because we can't really shine our workspace in this example. But we skip to standardize next. So as someone mentioned earlier, we put everything in logical order. So once everyone gets their sheet, I'll start the timer. Again, 1 through 49, 20 seconds. Everyone okay? Get ready, set, go. Ten seconds left. You can handle the next one too. All right. Time up. How was it this time? Pow. Easy. We had extra time, right? So who would have thought, right? From the first workplace we had, where everything was all messy, till now, we have extra time to do more 5S. Okay. So in this next example, we're gonna apply, like one reason why you might do this, or think about doing this, is so we're back at our original workplace, but then again our shifts are 20 seconds again. The new task though this time is we're doing quality checks. So we're finding which 2 numbers are missing. So I gave you guys a hint. I gave you 2 numbers. I didn't say in previous trainings I said just find what's missing, but now I'm telling you 2 numbers. So let's start 20 seconds. Start, and then we're finding which 2 numbers are missing. And then once someone finds those 2 numbers, can you let me know? So we're at 30 seconds already. So we're working overtime. All right. So that took about 43 seconds. So it took us 2 shifts to do a quality check because of this original workspace. Okay. I'll just show you because we're running short on time. But for example, Robbie, the next slide. If we did 5S, we could easily identify what 2 numbers are missing. So hopefully from this example, I mean, you can see, right, 5S is easily overlooked in a lot of companies, but this is the foundation for lean manufacturing and process improvement, getting things in order, sorting out the unnecessary things, standardizing, and this will help you, again, find what's missing in your quality checks or your process. Let's do one more exercise because we have our speakers here. Maybe the speakers that you can come up and then we'll settle in. But let's do one more exercise real quick. It's called the standard pig exercise. So we'll hand out. Yeah, everybody has. Okay. So that pink sheet. We'll start with the pink sheet. It's round 1 of the standard pig exercise. So let's say I'm your customer, and I'm asking you guys to draw me a pig. So we have some people that do arts and crafts or the carpets and the artwork here. So I'm expecting great things. So, is your husband okay? So I'll give you guys how about 30 seconds to draw me a pig. and we'll see what we get. Ready, set, go. 30 seconds. Draw me a pig. And then we'll have Sophia and Aaron collect the pink once you guys are ready, the pigs once you guys are ready. So if I'm your customer, right, and I'm asking for a pig, you know, what are some of the things that I would be looking for example?
Pig?
A pig.
Well, it should have a little snout
Okay. Okay.
and a curly tail.
Okay. So think of this as a training example. Let's say you're onboarding new employees, and you told them to draw you a pig. What are some of the things that would help that employee produce quality work? Because, I mean, we'll see in a little bit the results of this exercise. So this is round one.
Well, you should give them an idea of what you're expecting as the output.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So like a example or like a vision of good. Okay. So we're gonna laugh a little bit, yeah. So, pig. Yeah. So we'll see here. We have a lot of different pigs. I mean, again, as Rob said, we didn't really specify what we were looking for. But again, this is just an example of why standardized work is important. For round two, let's go over it real quickly. So round two, Rob, if you can go to the next slide. So on the yellow sheet, that tan sheet, I guess, we'll do round two. So in this example, I mean, as far as training is, I'll give you guys work instructions. So if everyone could follow the work instructions on the tan sheet and this gray sheet, it has instructions on how to draw a pig. So I'm an engineer by trade. I went to school for engineering, so hopefully the instructions are clear enough for everyone. I'll give you guys 30 seconds again to do the pig. Ready, set, go. So in this example, it is like you were starting at a company and then they gave you work instructions to do your work. So since everyone has the same work instructions, everyone should be drawing the same pig. "30 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Oh, everybody's working overtime today? Okay, stop. How far did everyone get? Not too far. Okay. Yeah. So we'll have Sophia collect the pigs. So thoughts on this one? Everyone had the same work instructions. How did things turn out though? So, okay. So we'll post up again. So just going back to round one, right? No instructions. I asked you guys for a pig, and this is what we got. You know, different variations, right? From a quality standpoint, you know, I wouldn't buy any of these because they're not the ones that I wanted, right? It's cute though, but we'll see from round two. So in this example, you know, we've done this, no training, just on the job. This example, we give you work instructions, and we'll see the results. So we'll do the same thing for round three. Let's post these up first. I think some people took this stuff before, right? Was it you guys? Right? So what was good and bad about the work instructions?
Very clear, but it takes you time to understand it.
Okay, so it's clear, but it takes time to understand. Okay, so maybe if you had more time, you think you'd be able to finish it? Yeah. Okay. So I threw in a word that we haven't seen in a long time, tangent. Doesn't remember what tangent is from math? Okay. So how can we improve on this? We have work instructions. You think if we had like more training, it would be helpful? Or a sample. Okay. Maybe Rob, we can go to the next slide. Okay. So on the green sheet, we'll use the green sheet next for round 3. This time we'll walk you through how the pig should look like following the same work instructions. Okay. So I'm going to read over the work instructions, and then we're going to go one step at a time. Okay, ready? So first one, number 1, draw letter M at the top left intersection. Bottom center of M touches the intersection. Rob, can you click once, please? So that will look like this. That's step 1. Okay? Step 2, draw a letter W at the bottom left intersection. Top center of W touches the intersection. Number 2. Number 3, draw a letter W at the bottom right intersection. Top center of W touches the intersection. Number 3. Number 4, draw an arc from the right side of letter M to the top right intersection. There's number 4. Everyone doing okay so far? Number 5, draw an arc from the top right intersection to the bottom right W. And number 6, draw an upside down arc between the 2 bottom W's. You got number 6 already. Number 7, draw the letter O in the center left box. Okay, number 7. Number 8, draw an arc from the left side of the letter M to the tangent of the circle. So this is what that means. Number 9, draw an arc from the left W to the tangent of the circle. Number 10, draw an arc for the eye halfway between the M and the circle. Number 11, draw an arc for the mouth halfway between the W and the circle. 12, draw a cursive letter E near the top arc on the right. And 13, finally draw 2 dots in the middle of the circle for the pig's nose. All right. So again, this simple example, right, shows you, if you do onboarding, if there's no standardized work, these are the results that you get. And then for a lot of companies, when they think of, oh yeah, we just need written instructions on how to do stuff, SOPs. This is what you get if it's not clearly understood, or if not given enough time to do the actual training. In this last example, we walked through, we did hands-on training, we have the work instructions, and we have a visual example of the finished product. So this is the importance of having standardized work, and I think why we did this exercise, why we did the 5S exercise in the beginning was to clear up the workspace so that way you guys have more time to do productive work, value-added activity.
Just wanted to recap. What did you guys think of that exercise? Why do you think that exercise was important for exporting? More general question. Time? Good. Any other?
Time effectiveness.
Time effectiveness. Okay, good. Any other comments? Sir, in the back, you were jamming, so you may probably did this before. But what do you think?
Too many things are coming at you at once, so you have to focus on each one detail.
Okay. Is that kind of similar to what you guys do day to day in your own business, regardless if it's manufacturing, banking, whatever? Pretty similar? Kind of have some same experiences? All right. So, the question and why we're kind of here today is, how does this affect exporting? Right? So, one of the things, and we have a great panel here today that's going to talk about their experience and how this affects. But one of the things that you think about is, we're all here because of HiSTEP. We go to trade shows, we go get POs from customers, and we come back. But just imagine if you went out to a trade show and you got a big PO or you got a big order and you come back to your factory and it's kind of like you said how your desk was. How do you think you're going to be able to manage that order? It's going to be pretty tough. If you're not organized and you're not efficient in currently what you're trying to manufacture, it's going to be pretty tough. And one of the things that we always like to stress is, are you really ready for manufacturing? I mean, are you really ready for exporting? And that's the question that I kind of usually always ask our audience, right? We're here because it's part of the HiSTEP program, it's an export program, but are you really ready as a company? And we want you to ask that question to yourself, right? Do you have your supply chains all in order? Do you have your manpower? Are you organized? If you have a lot of manpower, you have a lot of supplies, but you're not organized, you're gonna end up probably something like that, right? I mean, you're gonna have something that's very awkward, not very productive. And one thing that you need to learn about exporting is, especially if this is your first time, have you exported before, sir? Yep. You did? All right, so you kind of know the growing pains of it. And first impression is always the most important, and I think our panelists will talk about that. You can't really screw up your first order, right? Especially in Japan. And Rob can attest to that, is, you're always your first impression, going to a trade show, your first order, very important. So again, I just wanted to stress, we have this slide here about lean and why we did this exercise. Why is it important for you as a company to kind of go through this? Because at the end, that blue box, profitability, that's you. You got to make money, right? And if you really don't get some of these things that Wayne went through, and think about being organized and being more effective, that blue arrow is probably not going to be that high. So I just wanted to share with you before we start the panel, really why lean and being efficient and being more productive is important as a manufacturer, right? Because it does affect the downstream, right? When you go and get an order, when you do stuff, it does affect. So just wanted to say that, and then I'll turn it over, or maybe for any questions before we get into the panel. No? Okay. So anyway, I'll turn it back over to the other Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay, so this last slide, Wayne summed it up real well. And again, another words of wisdom from Dr. Deming is, it's not necessary to change. Survival is not mandatory. But in everyone's case, we'd like the businesses to grow through export, through top line growth, bottom line growth. Again, lean addresses some of the bottom line growth things that we can help with companies. Rob, maybe next slide. So here today we have some of our companies that we work with. Special guests, I'll go with Byron Gu from Teach Us Hawaii. From Honolulu Cookie, we have Marie Marcos and Alvin. And then we have the other Wayne here from Innovate Hawaii also that can answer some of the questions. I'll hand the mic over to our special guests, and then they can introduce themselves more thoroughly, talk about what they do, what their role is in the company, and then maybe one person can talk about what they do in terms of export.
Hi everyone, my name is Marie Marcos. I work for Honolulu Cookie Company for about, I would say, 18 years since they started the company they started with a small store, and then they opened their official store in Ward Warehouse in about 2002, 2003. So that was our actual first growth. And then it just escalated from there. I oversee the operation side of the company. That includes logistics, distribution, delivery, quality control, and production, including order fulfillment. I would say that we do exporting to Japan, and we partner with wholesale partners that distributes our product all over the world. And we've been doing that, I think, since 2010, to be exact. But it's a learning process. There's a lot to learn. I will hand it off to Alvin.
Hi, I'm Alvin. Sorry, excuse me, I'm kind of a little sick, but I've been with the company now for, I've been with the company now for 9 years. So I deal with all exporting, importing, like basically distributions and logistics. And just to kind of touch on what Marie said, yes, we do exporting to Japan. Currently, as a retail store, we are exporting to Guam. We deal with duty free, Tommy Bahama, and like what Marie says, is really selecting the right partners when you're exporting is really vital to anything and everything that you do. So it was a learning curve, and really it's a learning curve every day for us, especially with this new market. So yeah.
Hi. My name is Byron Gu, and our company is called Teach Us Hawaii, and this year we're celebrating our 25th year in business. And what I do is we were sharing notes earlier, I pretty much do the same things, manage logistics, distribution. My title is Chief Tea Officer, CTO, so my real passion is about creating the blends and the flavors and things like that, creating the products. That fills my cup. The stuff that takes away the passion is doing the QC and making sure we get paid and all that stuff. So we make gourmet tea products. Our brands are called Hawaiian Natural Tea and Island Essence, and you can find those at Long's and Whole Foods. And we also do OEM private label products. Our export story it started about 8 years ago, and I'm a product of Export University. If you haven't taken that, that's a great place to start. The whole idea behind that was, after 18 years in business, we were wondering whether or not our business was going to plateau soon in Hawaii. We don't do a whole lot in North America. Our business is primarily focused in Hawaii. We do a lot of B2B business. So we're not as strong as Honolulu Cookie in terms of being a consumer-facing product, but we do a lot of wholesale and trade market business. And so we were seeing that, how many more hotels could be built, et cetera. So we were wondering at 18 years were we going to be peaking out anytime soon. And so I heard John Holman, who runs the commerce department here, say that 98% of your customers live outside the U.S. And that really caught my attention. So I signed up for that Export University. What was really kind of an overwhelming, daunting concept of a small company in the middle of the Pacific exporting to other countries became a lot more tangible. It became a lot more navigational, if you will, going through Export U. And then I think what really was valuable and beneficial to myself and our company was the quality of the speakers. The speakers were super approachable, and to this day I still talk to several of them. I still actually serve on boards with them. But the network was pretty amazing in terms of going through that class.
Yeah, so this panel's here to answer any of your questions. So if you have questions, I have some, things that'll help start discussions. But if you have specific questions you want to ask from any of our speakers or even from Wayne, he can answer questions about our program. Feel free to do so. I guess the first toss-up thing you can talk about is maybe you can talk about your first big order and how you guys fulfilled it. Like, for example, how do you guys address, the material, the supply chain, the financing, maybe even equipment if that was an issue, and manpower or workforce.
Sorry. I laugh because at times I don't know when we will get the big order because we have owners that are very visionary and they dream. So they will tell me, Marie, we're opening 2 stores next week. And I'll be like, what? So less preparation. So we know, and over the years, I think we've come to a point where we adapt. And we make sure that we have enough capacity and also we're prepared. One thing that's the cornerstone of our product is the quality. We never, ever compromise it. So that's one thing that's at the core. When we started a company, we knew what the recipe is, and up to this day, we continue to make the same recipe. We never compromise the ingredients, so sourcing it was tough. Really, really tough because we can only buy natural products that are pure. and we don't want to, I would say, change it in a way that would compromise quality. So sourcing out from overseas was, I think, the major challenge. And over the years is making sure that we have backup ingredients that would qualify in case something happens to one of the ingredients or the supply issue. And that is having also working with people, hiring the right people is one thing. On our first, I would say, I remember our first order being the wholesale partnership with one of the, I would say duty-free was one of the biggest one that kind of, I would say, multiplied our manufacturing. At that time, we had to work double shifts from a one shift production to a double shift. And of course, when you have that with less preparation, training is the one thing that you would have to make sure that it's done properly. Because if not, if you don't have the right people, then it's disastrous. That's one thing. And also having a plan. So over the years, we are a data-driven company. I would say that every decision that we make, it's all based on data. We don't make a decision if it doesn't reflect, or at least it doesn't show any impact or any result. So that helped a lot. And also, I would say the past 3 years, what helped us is the lean training that HTDC have offered. It was really significant, and I would say it shifted the culture of the employees. We had a first phase where managers had a lean training, and then the second phase with the employees. On a manager level, because they are just reacting to day-to-day activities, that was less, I would say less the impact was seen. But then, when we had the phase 2, the second year, that was really, I would say, life-changing for all of us, because people who we knew that works on the line just understood the whole system. It opened their eyes to a lot of things. With that, it was a 2-day seminar with a lean program, and then we had presentations after that, and they owned the process. They had autonomy to make changes in their processes. So that change, that really became, I would say, that changed everything for us. And in terms of operations, and our margins grew, and also, I would say, it's not a cost reduction, and it's not reducing the number of people. I must say, over the past 2 years that we've been in the lean program, we actually hired more people, but people that are helping us to grow even more, like future planning, not hiring people to what we need now, but what we want to be in the future, and preparing us for that next step. So that gave us somehow of a capacity to expand more. So, and for me, I would say that I was so connected with the day-to-day operations, like I need to know every detail, I need to manage here and there. But I had to let go, and I was able to see corner to corner and see what we're missing in terms of each department, like what does quality need? What do we need to get in order to go to Japan? How do we then modify our recipes to then still stick with our core recipes and not compromise it, but pass JFDA, KFDA, all of that, because we're in food. And how do we expand operations and double it up within the 5,000 square foot facility? It's a lot it's impossible to everyone, but we made it. And I think that was the biggest thing, is having people to understand what their part is in the system, and having them understand how their part is so significant. And we've also grown leaders from the line workers, and now they're leaders now, and we've created a path for them as well. So that was really huge in just understanding what lean program is, like looking at the defects. We've worked with vendors to correct. We have streamlined our products, and up till now, it's not just management, strategic planning, but actually results-driven planning. So that is, but still we had to focus on who we are, why we are doing things, and everything that we do. I think that was truly significant. And it all started when we had the Lean training 2-day seminar. And then the second phase, we have added some admin people as well. It was hard to show, but then they have attended and they have seen the results. And I think we started when we were, the first year, out of the program, we saved $50,000 a month on a combination of just tiny details that we had to change. And then over that, it was after the second year, we have added about 30,000 only from initiatives directly affected by the Lean program. And these are employees, our own employees who made the change, took ownership of the change, and that was the result of it on a money standpoint. But there are intangible results, long-term benefits to it, because again, having a crew that just changed their whole mindset from not caring to now caring how they do things. So that was pretty significant, I would say.
I'm the product of Marie, so she said everything for me.
I want to understand what you guys do. Like, can you show of hands? So we, both of us are in the food sector, and we do consumer product goods. So does anybody else do consumer product? Okay. Hard good or apparel? And then services? Okay. Oh, wow. So it's kind of a pretty even mix. So the question, something about a big order? Yep. I think the first thing we did was celebrate. We threw a party. Hey, we got an order. This export thing works. And then we had to go, how do we do this? Something that I struggled with, because I handle the pricing, was I didn't know whether or not we should price it the same as who we, to a customer in North America, or do we need to discount or what have you? That was something that I had to learn. The other thing that became very evident to us was there going to be seasonalities in our exporting? So, we're selling tea to the Japanese, and it feels sometimes to me like selling ice to Eskimos. But what I realized early on was that there was a seasonality to it. Hawaii is a summer concept. So we had to figure out promotions and in order to smooth out those peaks and valleys, because there is a ramp up, there is some of that operational stuff that goes on, but we had to figure out, okay, how can we smooth out the seasonalities of being a summer product to the Japanese. So that's one thing we had to work out. The other thing, our exports last year grew 300%. It's still a very small piece of our overall business, but it did affect our operations. It did stress our supply chains. And the only thing that we really do to offset that is negotiate longer lead times. We typically have a 30-day lead time. Last year we were asking for 60. And luckily they wanted the product enough that they were willing to work with us in that way. But that was another strategy that we used to be able to fulfill the terms of the contract. So
I guess maybe you can answer along those lines. Maybe how do you guys address the surge that Brian mentioned in orders? Because I know, especially for you guys during the holidays, you guys get busy. So how do you guys address that?
So for our business, it's also heavily based on seasonality. During the first to second quarter of the year, it slows. So that's where we had to develop and I would say strengthen Valentine's promotion, the summer, spring, so that we tend to come up with products that are seasonality, so that it's not heavily towards, because our product, as you know, is heavily on gifting, right? So if you see Honolulu Cookie Company, it's to be a gift. So now how do we get out of that? And so that way it gives us more business throughout the rest of the year and not just during the holidays. So we have a strong marketing team that actually plans, but really works with us on how what works for manufacturing, not just, not just because it looks nice. It has to make money, right? So we had to be open to Valentine's Day promotions, summer, spring, new products constantly, not just recycling products. And also that would be the time that we actually open, like we have open stores because we know we have that capacity. In terms of surging up, I would say that, again, having a strong supply chain is one thing, not just really putting all your eggs in one basket. When I say that, you're not just buying from one ingredient supplier. You have to maintain relationships with multiple suppliers, so then something happens, they're ready. They're there to support you. So that was one key thing. With reacting to orders that are different, one thing was the lead time, but that never really works for I'd say when they doubled their order, they still expect us to do it in 3 days. 3 days is like, it's really hard, 3 days, regardless if they have 1 million cookies that they ordered or only 1,000. So that was one thing. So what we had to do is to maintain, again, it goes back to the data. We look at how they've been ordering, trend it, and then prepare for it. And also contracts is key for wholesale. We want to make sure that when we purchase 10,000 units of one thing, especially for exclusive products, that they're really going to pay for the raw materials if they do not pool everything. So contracts is huge, especially for seasonality. That was one thing. And also making sure that they also understand the process, because if they ask for a new product and it's custom to them, and you cannot sell it to any other customer because it's only for them, that they pay for it. They pay for the supply. And also keeping that they also understand and protect your brand, because that is one thing. If they're reselling your product, they have to follow some guidelines to make sure that your brand stays intact and protected, because that is one thing. And even though we are offered many businesses, one thing that we always say is that do they align with our brand? Is that something that we want to be involved with or we want to be associated with? So even though I would say it caps off our orders, that's fine, because we know that we are protecting the brand and we know our customers. And being that we are a regional product as well, and we have stores in Las Vegas and and we work with other partners who sells products to other companies, to outside the state of Hawaii, we provide them guidelines. Those are first thing, that they understand, they go through training, that they understand the value and who we are, why we do things. And then the second thing is that we make sure that we provide them lead time. So it's different for corporate, it's different for wholesale, and it's also different for our retail stores based on where they are in the country. And because not everybody have in the same market. So product that you offer in Hawaii, because we're a regional product heavily regional in Hawaii, it's not going to sell in other states. So you're not just going to your spreadsheet and going like, okay, we need to make 8 days of this product and only 3 days of this product, because it's not the same. You have to really know your product. and then we make sure that our safety stock is always there, and that helped us with the Kanban system that we learned 2 years ago from Wayne. So those are the skills that we had to like make sure that we hone up in order to always react to escalation of any sales. And also we know that we're okay if we run out of that product, and we make sure that we market it in a way that we celebrate. Like Christmas this year or last year, we ran out most of the products by first week of December. That was insane, and we're okay with it. We like it. And then we prepare for the next one, and then the next one. So we cap it to what we know we can prepare for by not going beyond your capacity and now compromising quality. So that's how we've always done it. And the second shift helped, but also building enough capacity for any surge. Right now, if you're asking about how do you deal with the slow season versus the hard season, because we always hire seasonal workers, and we are so lucky that we have happy seasonal workers that come back every year. They start from October, and then their last day would be December 31, and then the following year, they come back again. So we tend to be more flexible in that quarter where we have a lot of sales, so that we then hire back all the seasonal workers, and then we still keep the workers that we have going to the quarter, to the fresh year.
Can I add a quick comment on international marketing? Make sure you know what are the sales seasons in the markets that you're working in, because they may not be focused on Christmas, for example. Right now is what? Chinese New Year, right? If you were selling in China, this is a huge season right now, or Taiwan or Hong Kong or Singapore or what have you. So just know what those markets are, right?
For Byron, it's more about like a scaling up question. You know, so what's your current production capacity, and then like when you consider equipment, for example, or scaling up your production, what are some factors that you look at?
Well, I think in terms of, making investments into equipment, how quickly we can pay the machine off, really. And then the second thing that we look at is, we're in a very lean labor market, and it's hard to find good operators. So something that we're struggling with is our defect rate. So we sell to Japan, which invented 5S, which invented Kaizen, and which also doesn't tolerate defects. So we struggle. And what I've noticed is that it's cost us a lot more operationally in QC. That's kind of like where the market is right now. We have the luxury of a couple different things. We do produce quite a bit in-house, but we also have, because of the logistics costs, because we are selling a tangible product that needs to be shipped, we actually have co-packing contracts on the West Coast to do our export, some of our export business. So we keep a lot of the proprietary stuff in-house, but if we have a product that is more generic, that has a lot of life behind it already, where it's not as proprietary, we will actually move that product to the West Coast, and it saves a ton of money in terms of frees up our capacity here, and it also reduces logistics costs of exporting. So that's a model that we decided. We've always, historically, Hawaii, if you need labor, it's always been historically a low labor rate here, lower than the national average. So, I mean, that's the model we chose.
Byron, real quick on that point, when did you know it was ready to go to the mainland? Like, at what point in your business did you say,
Good questions. I think it was right around that 18-year mark when we saw that, hey, are we saturating Hawaii? We hadn't tapped into North America yet. We have dabbled in Canada, but that's when we started asking ourselves, okay, if we drop the $1 million in a manufacturing line here, would we be able to run it efficiently? And would we be able to compete in other markets, namely North America? The thing that it's not a struggle. I mean, we sell Hawaii just as much as we sell high quality tea. But tea is a mature product, right? So to bang it out against the other tea companies on the retail shelf is tough. We actually were growing organically through the Whole Foods network across North America. And after about 3 years, we pulled it all back because cash flow is a key, man, especially with a hard good. You invest a lot of capital up front to make that good, and then it just sits out there for a long time. And so we were selling, $5,000, fulfilling $5,000 orders to Whole Foods, and the food model is that for North America and Japan, you have to use distributors. So we're selling it to a third-party distributor who's then putting it into the retailer. We'd sell them. We'd write an order, fulfill an order for $5,000. We'd get a check 62 days later for $1,500, and we're like going, "What the heck's going on?" They go, "Oh, well, here's the chargeback, and here's the warehousing fee, and here's the cooperative advertising," and we just said, "Okay, do we have enough ammunition to make this a national brand, or is there another way to do it and grow based upon our labor capacity, based upon our capital capacity, things like that?" Because 25 years later, we're still wholly owned. We're still locally operated, so we haven't had to sell. There are other people with different models. They're willing to sell, equity and things like that. But for us, it was, we like our life here. We have been able to afford everything that we've wanted, and so that's been our model. And I think that's going to continue to be our model, because right now, in year 25, we've looked at exit strategies and things like that, and we want to continue. So I don't know if that's too far down the line for some of you guys, but it really depends, I think, on the model and what you're selling. A service, you can upload now into the cloud, right, or a computer program. But if it's a hard good, yeah, it's a completely different way to finance it, move it, ship it, sell it.
I guess, so we talked about international marketing. For both of the companies, when you sold to other countries, what sort of things did you have to do for your product packaging? Because I know that comes into play. For example, if you have a certain kind of packaging machine, if you need to change the packaging, what does that mean for your existing equipment?
Great question. Our partners in Japan put a Japanese language sticker on the products or on the cartons, the master cartons, the outer cartons. One thing that Canada became a challenge, because we were able to ship to the West Coast with English packaging, but we couldn't get enough, we couldn't reduce the risk. In other words, we couldn't get binding offers or orders to go east. So in Canada, if you go east to Toronto, Quebec, you have to actually put French on your packaging. So that barred us. We're actually going to revisit that model soon, but luckily we've had partners in Japan, and I think they're pretty accustomed to labeling, putting Japanese labels on their packaging. And the other thing too with the partners, you know, we started, when we first started out, we were really naive, and we were saying, okay, where do we want to export to? And so you create a list, and you do the due diligence to investigate the different markets. I still have that list, but really what has been super, super guiding and instrumental to our growth is the partner. That they can protect the brand, that they do what they say. There's a lot of integrity there. And something that we had to add to our company was the language skills. There's quirks. There's quirks about, the language. It doesn't always translate. You can't use Google Translate to translate a contract. I wish it was, but you can't. So we've had to add Japanese pieces. So we actually have a Japanese translator, a person in actually Japan to manage our website there. And then we've been fortunate because we do Japanese PR here, that we've been able to use their work that we've created here in those markets. But language is pretty important. I didn't expect it.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
We made a mistake. We chose a Hawaiian word that we thought would be acceptable for our clothing line, which is hilo hilo. In Hawaiian, that means excellence, right? So when our Japanese friends came to look at us from Hankyu, they said, why did you choose this word? Because in Japanese, this means slimy worm.
Interesting.
And so we're like, oh boy. So we had to change all of our titles. So what is acceptable in one language, which we thought we would be, oh, this is excellence, this is hilo hilo, right? My husband's from Molokai, so the Hawaiian language is something that is familiar with him. And yet in Japanese, it meant something else. And we had to dial it all back and reformat it. So that's another avenue, because we're looking at our Hawaiian market, right? And we like to be Hawaiian as we are, and yet it backfired on us. It's an extreme example, but it happened.
Great story. The other thing is colors. What may be acceptable to us or the West might have a certain meaning or use in other cultures. Yeah.
Too strong, too vibrant.
I mean, if anyone has any questions, because we're approaching our time. It's about 10:55. I know we're scheduled to end. Oh, question in the back.
Ira, you mentioned you work in the Canadian market, but you never went east because they need French translation and stuff like that. So do you think it was worth your time and effort to go and get that French translation? Do you think the market is lucrative enough to do that? And also,
No, go ahead. And also,
comparing the Canadian market to the American market,
Yeah.
you're shipping about the same distance, and they're both North America.
Yeah.
Is it much more challenging to work a Canadian market? Maybe because there's a little cultural difference, there's a Canadian dollar to convert and all of that. So is it something like, oh, I might as well just stick with the United States? It's so much easier, the distance about the same. Canada has a lower population, might not be as lucrative.
yeah, I think those things you have to work through in terms of the equation. Short answer, why we didn't go east is no one was willing to give us a PO, to cover the cost of producing the dual bilingual packaging. We were willing to do it if for the right price, but it never came up. Yeah, and I think why we pulled out as quick as we did out of Canada, it was the partner thing. I didn't feel comfortable after being involved with our broker, because North America has a broker and distributor model. There were some things that the broker did while we were engaged with their company that was a little shady to us, and so we decided to pull out.
I guess maybe if you guys could share, so talking about logistics, right, getting things, coming in and going out, what are some of the challenges that you guys face as a company currently? And if you had advice for some of the people that are looking to export, what would you give them? I'm trying to get Alvin to say a few words.
One of the biggest challenges is really the tariffs, especially dealing with the new tariffs with China. But really, I mean, that's pretty much my real challenge. What's really, really good about working with Honolulu Cookie is we network really well with a lot of people. So we make sure like our network is really broad. And I mean, till this day, I'm actually connected with John Holman. So if I do need any kind of advice, I might be send him cookies every year. So he's always a call away, or I just text him. He's like, hey, I'm willing to help. So one really big example is a bunch of our labeling on our packaging. We really didn't have the real venue until looking into, hey, do we really need to have this really translated? So really, John connected me with somebody in Japan and had somebody do the groundwork, and boom, we were in Japan.
You know how you're talking about looking towards the future, and with like the going to zero plastic, that's the direction you're going. So are you looking at, or have you already developed teams that are looking at those things?
That's actually one of our strategic plan in the next, I would say, past the 3-year mark. Sustainability is one thing that we are now including in everything that we do, not only in the operation side. And I know our cookies are still plastic wrapped, but we are already looking into alternatives because we know that is the future. And also one of the things, again, it goes back to the lean, and this was even before sustainability escalated, the topic of that and how it's now marketed. One of the things that we learned is to reduce waste and looking at the product, like, do we really need the divider, the plastic divider? Do we need the pad? Do we need the plastic wrap? I mean, those things we started to question, like, why? Why do we need it? Does the customer really value that? So then little by little, we reduced those, and it didn't affect our sales in anything. Yeah, and we meant by looking forward, not only about the product that we sell, but also the ingredients that we put into it. So we know for sure that we're now looking into, if we know that we've outgrown the partners that we've had, and looking at, okay, now they don't have the capacity, some resources or some suppliers does not adapt to your rate of growth. And so you should be in constant searching, who's the next one, and again expanding that network and working with them, and not also jumping so ahead. I think that's also a risk that you don't want to take, because we know that, and it's always about how do they respect you and how do they work with you, because we know that up to this day we used to work with big companies and they look at us as a really tiny business, and that really also paralyzed us because we didn't get the service that they promised that they would give us. So that is one thing. It's not about the size of the company that you work with, but it's the commitment that they give you in delivering the products that they give. So, and I think that was key. That was a key thing for delivery logistics too, because we used to work with big companies, but then at the time that you need them, they're not there. But then where the smaller companies, you're also growing with them, but then they want to grow with you. So then they learn to adapt and react when needed to be. Sustainability for us is not only for the materials that we use, but also raw ingredients that we use. And we put that into practice as well. And of course, you can't do like a one-day switch. it will take time because of we're in the cookie, but then how do I protect the, because you have to protect the quality first and foremost. You cannot just switch from from plastic to paper, and then just expect that your product will be the same.
Is that with like local resourcing as well?
Yes. That's also considering everything, because how I order our ingredients is that I look for local first before moving out, because then you don't want to pay for extra shipping and freight, and also quality is key. So if it's available in the island, you want to work with the local distributors first or the source before even considering to go outside. That's always been a step. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Question?
Here's an online question. Has any of the panelists participated in the Honkyu Hawaii Fair? And if so, what did you get out of it? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We did. So the question was if we participated in the Honkyu Hawaii Fair. Yes, we did for the first time last year, 2019. I was very interested, one, because it was a new partner, and two, I wasn't familiar with the Osaka market. And the Honkyu Fair is based in Honkyu Umeda Department Store in Osaka, and so we did do it. And
It's not a trade show. You actually go there and sell your product, right?
yeah, it's a long show.
Yeah. A week or more, depending.
7 days. They get about, so the ups, you know, the what do you call that? The bullet points for that show is it's 7 days. It's air conditioned, and they get about 250,000 people through the door. And I think you did it last year, right?
We've done it 3 years now.
Okay. So last year, you know, there are people in the audience who are more versed to talk about it than I am, but last year was our first year. We sold out on several products in 3 days. It was a long fair. We wrote them a nice, sincere email saying thanks, but we're not going to come back. And they actually made a meeting with us in Hawaii and said, no, you have to come back. It was like, we're not leaving your office until you come back. So Honkyu, I think, is a great partner. But like anything else, they're going to minimize the risk to them, as I think you should be thinking about minimizing the risk to your own company, right? Because you know that's where your heart and soul and capital is. But they're a great partner, a lot of integrity. Someone much smarter than me told me that when you choose your partners in business, look at what they have to lose. And Honkyu they've been around. I think Honkyu, if you're not familiar with them, I would equate them to a Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus level retailer. They're not a Marshalls or nothing against those brands, but it's a higher end ring, so it fits into the probably the pricing bracket for a Hawaii product. And that store, the store that they host the fair in is fabulous. So it's very conducive for sales.
But it's a great show. It might not be for everybody, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you have to be invited. You don't just show up
Yes.
with a bag of goods and try to sell it. They have to invite you to come. And
yeah.
Did you want to share any tips?
I did. One of the best pieces of advice we received.
Hold on a sec.
One of the smartest things we did was we took the training from Neil Arakaki on how to do business in Japan. And one of the things he said that was very true and timely was in the Japan market, unless you're willing to invest 5 years, you have to realize that you have to continue to go to Japan, continue to make your presence known, and that's how that marketplace works. It's just not a one-time thing. You have to continue to go, build relationships. They may see you the first time, say hello. The second year, they may do a little bit more, but it's a 5-year process to even establish yourself. That's been our experience, and that's why we continue to go. So that's just a note on Japan, and especially in the Hankyu market.
I think that the Hankyu Fair is relevant to this scaling up operations because companies have to prepare a lot of inventory and get it over there. I don't know. Do you have any experience with that? How to prepare and ship it or take it? You know, every product's different. If you're a jewelry manufacturer, you could carry a lot of it or all your inventory. But if you make honey, you can't carry, I don't know, 10 pallets of honey, right? You have to ship it. So there's a lot of things to think about before you get involved in an event like that. Do you have any comment on that? Or?
Yes. What we did was we met some people at the Tokyo Gift Fair, and again, we'd been going to that as well and developed a relationship with them. This one gentleman produces the fabrics for the halaus in Japan. So when he saw my husband's artwork, he said, well, I think we can do something. So then he produced the fabrics in Japan, and they were sewn in Japan. So that eliminated all that shipping. So it was already there for us. So it was a ready market. So we showed up with more artwork that we did bring our own artwork. But even on a bigger scale, we could produce the artwork there. They have technology to print our prints. We can frame them, we can stretch them, we can do everything in Japan. So just kind of going around the lean to figure out how we can cut those corners, not have to ship everything over there, that's another part of the process. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're about time, so I'll pass the mic over. Maybe if Hanakuki and T-Chess have any closing remarks, but we'll be around for questions after this for some networking also. But maybe here you go, Marie.
Hi, I think I don't have nothing to say, but for exporting it, sorry, we were talking about ingredient labeling or the back labels. We had experience with the French ingredient labeling for a few years, and what we did when we tested a new market, we look at a core product that's already working, that's already appealing to other markets, not just in Hawaii, and then we just created a sleeve for it, and that's the same thing that we tested in other markets as well, with the sleeves having the customized language that if it's going to Japan, then it had the ingredient label for Japan. If it's going to Canada, then it has the one with the Canada. So that's how we started, so that you're not creating a new product that's absolutely new and putting a lot of cost to it, a lot of research to it. So just researching with your own product in those pop-up shops or wherever with your partner, and then starting there. That's how we started, and then that's how we've developed relationships too. At first, we didn't have a translator that's truly independent catering for us. It was just with shipping companies like Yamato, who already have the translators. They have people who work with the JFDA that already do this service. So if you're using their service, it comes with it already. So you don't have to go and hire. So looking at what they can do for you if you're partnering, if you're choosing for a partner. So since we've been working with Yamato, one thing is they do have that service if you are in the food industry.
A couple tips that I wrote down. When you run your own company, you have your own brand, things like that. You can get pretty centric. And so, but there are actually some very low cost ways of capturing data. I have data capture entry because you guys have all these stores, and I would love to see that kind of information. But e-commerce or a website. If you're not quite sure where to go with your product, you can look at some of your website data to determine where the traffic's coming from. The other thing is that there's a pretty robust exporting ecosystem now that's been in development for about 5 years, thanks in large part to SBA and DBED and things like that. But that's another way to get your feet on the ground in a specific country and begin to understand who your customer is, what they look like, what they enjoy putting in their mouth, what they don't enjoy, the colors they like, things like that. So I'm a firm believer in trade shows. The way that we like to do trade shows is it's pretty much just a foray into the country. It's not about just sitting up in your booth behind the counter waiting for somebody to walk by. There's a lot of prep that goes into it before in terms of trying to establish meetings, appointments, things like that, who you want to see, inviting them to the booth, and then actually going out to dinner and having, getting more familiar, more personal with the partner. But the trade show network that is growing through HTDC and DBED and Hawaii Pacific Export Council is another great opportunity at a fairly low cost way to get into in front of a new audience. Yeah.
When we also opened the stores outside of Hawaii, there was one common thing that was a huge mistake. So I want to share this. It's not a cookie cutter. You can't go and sell the same product that you're selling in the island and assume that that's going to sell there. It is so different. So although we still sell heavily, a huge percentage on our core products, but we had to develop products that are totally regional to that part of that region. And those are the top sellers. Always the top sellers are the ones that are connected to that region. And yeah, that was one learning curve that we had to go through. And that's how we are able to retain the stores, because of the introduction of those regional products that are connected, associated in that area. And that has to happen if you learn their culture, right? You have to learn and know their culture.
Okay, any final questions before we wrap up for today? If not, I'm just going to take 30 seconds and go through the rest of our programming for the year. You have just attended Scaling Up. In a couple of weeks, we have a seminar in here just on international trade shows, what to do before, during, and after an international trade show. March 5th on Maui, it's our first HPEC and DBET event over there, where we're doing Export University 101 on Maui. March 19th, we're doing an event here on Australia and New Zealand, exporting to those markets. We have people coming from Australia to speak at that event, commercial service officers from the US. April 9th is international marketing. May 7th is developing an export plan. And June 25th is contracts for exporters. That's a very interesting event too. Okay, thank you very much to you guys. Do you have any final comments?
No, on behalf of Innovate Hawaii, just thank you guys for your time. If you have any questions about what we did earlier, we'll be around. Thank you to our guest speakers, Teach Us Hawaii, Byron, Honolulu Cookie Company, Alvin, and Marie. And like I say, if you have questions for them, they'll be here for a little bit. But again, thank you for attending, and good luck with your business.
Thank you. Thanks everyone online.